There's a story that Americans love to tell ourselves. A story about the lone individual, self-made, self-reliant, unconstrained by anyone or anything. It's a story older than Reagan, older than the cowboy, older even than the frontier. It's the myth that liberty is born in isolation, that freedom is something you clutch alone, unbothered by the world around you. And for decades, this myth has been weaponized by capital, by power, by those who fear the people united. But look deeper, and you find something else entirely. True individualism, real dignity, the kind that actually matters, has always been a leftist ideal. You don't find it in selfishness or greed. You find it in solidarity, in the promise that every person's freedom depends on the freedom of all. Let's talk about Jerry Ahern's The Survivalist. On the surface, you could read these books as straight-up capitalist, red-blooded, flag-waving Reaganite pulp. The lone hero, John Rourke, moving through a world gone mad, guns blazing, never backing down. But if you actually read the story, really read it with your eyes open, you'll see that Rourke isn't a creature of Ayn Rand. He isn't some caricature of selfish individualism. He's a survivor, yes, but survival in Ahern's world is never a solitary act. It's always about the people you choose, the bonds you forge, and the communities you build when everything else falls apart. What makes Rourke compelling, what makes him real, isn't that he's a perfect shot or that he always has the right gear. It's that he refuses to leave anyone behind. He risks everything for his family, for friends, for total strangers if they're in need. He spends every waking moment building, protecting, organizing. He doesn't sit on a pile of hoarded supplies waiting for the world to burn so he can finally be free. He uses every resource, every ounce of strength to carve out a space where others can survive too. This isn't capitalism, it's mutual aid. It's solidarity with a 45 in each hand. Look at how Ahern's world actually works. Civilization collapses, institutions are gone, and what's left? Not just individuals, but communities. People who come together, pool what they have, share the burden, and defend each other. Rourke is the catalyst, not the exception. His strength isn't about dominating or exploiting. It's about lifting others up. That's why people follow him, why they trust him. In a world stripped of law and order, he becomes the architect of new collective bonds. He teaches skills. He defends the vulnerable. He creates hope in a world that's lost it. That's not rugged individualism. That's Enlightenment socialism at work. This is what the Enlightenment understood, what Paine and Jefferson and Douglass all fought for. Individual liberty is meaningless if your neighbor is starving or afraid or crushed by some would-be tyrant. Freedom isn't a private hoard, it's a public good. Something that can only be sustained by shared responsibility. The leftist tradition has always been about defending the rights of the individual, but by rooting those rights in community, in law, in justice, in the ongoing promise that no one will be abandoned. A free society is one where every person's dignity is protected, not because charity demands it, but because our own freedom depends on it. The Survivalist lays this out in the starkest possible terms. Rourke's enemies aren't just looters and warlords. They're people who worship power, who think might makes right, who see others as tools or threats. Rourke's answer isn't to become like them. It's to build something better. He doesn't isolate. He doesn't retreat. He doesn't abandon the weak. He stands for a society that remembers. Out of many, one. The only way the individual survives is when the group survives. He's not defending a stash. He's defending a principle. He's defending the possibility that even in the ruins, decency and liberty can live. There's something fundamentally radical in that. Capitalism tells us to compete, to hoard, to see our neighbors as rivals. The world of the survivalist exposes the lie. In the end, the only thing that keeps anyone alive is solidarity, reciprocity, the decision to give a damn about real other people. Real individualism, the kind worth having, means insisting on your own dignity, yes, but never at the expense of someone else's. It means recognizing that your rights and freedoms only have meaning when you defend them for others too. So why does this matter now? Because the forces that want to divide us, oligarchs, authoritarians, the entire machinery of endarkenment, are banking on us forgetting what individualism actually means. They want us to think that freedom is just a word, that it can be bought, sold, or locked away, but history shows otherwise. The real individualist is not the one who turns away, but the one who steps forward, the one who says, I will fight for you as I fight for myself. I will not let you be crushed because your freedom is bound to mine. Rourke survives not because he's alone, but because he refuses to be. He builds alliances. He nurtures trusts. He never forgets the human cost of the world he's trying to rebuild. That's what sets him apart. That's why for all the Reagan-era trappings, the survivalist remains a blueprint for a better kind of freedom. A freedom born of responsibility, of commitment, of a deep, abiding belief in the worth of every person. That's Enlightenment socialism in practice, the recognition that the individual and the collective are not at odds. They are inseparable. Each exists to protect and uplift the other. So the next time someone tries to sell you individualism as selfishness, remember that the only freedom worth fighting for is the kind you can share. The survival of one depends on the survival of all. Out of many, one. That is the real meaning of individualism. That is the spirit we have to reclaim. And if we do, we might just survive, not as scattered, frightened atoms, but as human beings, together at last.